Hello there.
Bully is basically Grand Theft Auto in a boarding school and is one of Rockstar's most overlooked classics. In this game we play as Jimmy Hopkins, who is left behind at Bullworth Academy because his mother is going on a year-long honeymoon with Jimmy's new stepdad. I am greeted by the Academy's secretary, who is a massive simp for the school's headmaster. On my way to meet the headmaster, I try to make a good first impression with some of the pretty girls here, and I start with a nerdy girl. Unfortunately, Jimmy Hopkins has absolutely no riz whatsoever.
So, your place or mine?
Bruh. I then find a cute little redhead and I proceed to try and use some of Jimmy's non-existent riz to get Jimmy a cute little redhead girlfriend, but Jimmy's riz is unbelievably terrible.
I hope you don't think this is creepy, but I've been, watching you.
You're not even worth talking about!
At that point, Jimmy might as well just sneak into her room at night and take pictures of her sleeping. However, an opportunity for Jimmy to look good in front of the cute little redhead shows up when some nerd bullies her. I give the little nerd a Chinese burn and tell him that if he ever messes with my girl again, that I will castrate him in front of the entire school. I then meet the headmaster of Bullworth Academy and he talks about a lot of my previous activities, which include international war crimes and domestic terrorism. He then threatens to wipe my ass for some reason. I think he forgot that he isn't on Epstein's Island. I then bully this little kid because he started chatting shit to Jimmy.
You're a joke!
You suck!
But I just want to be your friend!
Haha, beating up little kids is so funny. Quick reminder that SK Storm does not support child abuse. Anyway, some idiots want to beat me up already, so I'll show these idiots why they used to call me Big Jimmy back in the day. The school retard shows up thinking he's a gorilla, but a teacher stops what would have been an epic battle for the ages. I make my way to my room in the boys' dorm, but the salesman for erectile dysfunction medication starts trying to sell me Viagra. I tell him that my name is Big Jimmy and he gets offended because I can actually maintain an erection without Viagra. Some nerd in the boys' dorm then pushes me, so I beat him up to assert my dominance. I can't give him any false sense of hope that he's better than me because my name is Big Jimmy. I then meet Pete, who is an online pickup artist that sells courses online on how to get all the girls you would want. He tries to sign me up to his pyramid scheme with a small payment of $1,000 to gain entry. Gary then enters the room and tries to sign me up to his own Viagra pyramid scheme. Is everyone at this boarding school just selling pyramid schemes to each other? Gary then leaves the room with Pete to discuss the possibility of working on a pyramid scheme together. You know what they say, teamwork makes the pyramid scheme work. I then start verbally abusing a little kid because it helps to build character, so I'm doing this little kid a massive favour.
Yo, mama, please don't hurt me. You want to bite such a scab? Dumbass. Charity case. You want some of this? You're so lame. You crap.
Although this looks bad, this is actually good for this little kid's mental health because he will be prepared for the harsh realities of the world, such as paying taxes and having to sadly find out that one day she doesn't love you anymore. I then pay Russell $2 to join his pyramid scheme, and then I steal Russell's stuff from his locker because I can. This fat bitch then starts crying because someone stole her chocolates, and this game forces me to get her chocolates back by beating someone up in the bathroom. Unfortunately, this fat bitch becomes Jimmy's first kiss at this school and not that cute little redhead from earlier. Massive L for Jimmy right there. Gary, the Viagra salesman, then introduces me to all the groups at this school. The virgins, the inbred trust fund kids, the guys who are compensating for the small penises, the steroid junkies. I then do my first chemistry lesson. I then casually commit some friendly domestic terrorism on a little kid. The headmaster then asks me why I keep committing acts of domestic terrorism, and I tell him that it's because domestic terrorism is absolutely hilarious. This guy then shoots his sperm at me, so I chase him down and beat up his friends before I start throwing bricks at him. Back at the dorm, Gary's discussing his Viagra pyramid scheme with Pete. Gary tells me that Pete has been spreading rumours around the school that Jimmy was never actually called Big Jimmy back in the day, so I threatened to collapse his entire pyramid scheme. Gary then kicks Pete in the dick and declares that he now owns the entire pyramid scheme. I then shoot some windows of an old broken down school bus with my newly acquired slingshot. Why am I doing this? I don't know. I then climb up a tree and shoot everyone at football practice. I then do my first art lesson and I learn the art of seduction. Back at the dorm, Gary is angry at Pete because Pete won't give Gary free access to Pete's online courses on how to pick up girls. I then arrive and tell Gary to just pay Pete the $200 that Pete charges for his online course. Unfortunately, Gary gets angry because he doesn't have $200 to spare for an online course on how to pick up girls. Then Gary tries to change subjects and suggests that we go and sell a pyramid scheme to the homeless guy at school. It turns out that this homeless guy is none other than Chuck Norris. I guess things have gotten rough for Chuck Norris. Gary and Pete run off scared to go back to selling their pyramid schemes whilst they take the opportunity to learn from Chuck Norris himself.
You do me a favor, and I'll show you some real moves. Classified moves. Real special army stuff.
Cool.
I get a radio transistor for homeless Chuck Norris so that he can teach me an uppercut. The gym teacher then teaches Jimmy how to throw hands in wrestling. I don't think this is wrestling, coach. I think this is just MMA. I beat this fat fuck in an illegal MMA fight and that cute little redhead is impressed. Jimmy then finally gets that cute little redhead. GG, mission complete.
How are you today? I've had like 10 people made out here. Have you ever kissed a boy?
Now we can focus on starting the biggest pyramid scheme in school. That fat bitch gets jealous that I'm kissing this cute little redhead and assaults her. I do the manly thing and defend my woman by beating up that fat bitch. This fat nerd that can't even zip up his own shorts then asks me to escort him to his locker, and I force him to join my pyramid scheme for $5 if he wants me to escort him anywhere. I beat up a few jabronis and then I need to protect the fat nerd whilst he goes to take a piss before he finally gets to his locker and gives Jimmy $5 for the pyramid scheme. Jimmy then decides to make some meth, which is an epic reference to Breaking Bad. Back in the dorm, Pete asks me to deliver some drugs to Beatrice. I guess his online pickup artist days are over and now Pete is in the drug trafficking business. Gary tries to extort money from Pete's online courses on picking up girls, but Big Jimmy shows up and tells the boys about his new pyramid scheme. Some nerd then asks Big Jimmy for help and I help him as long as I can have full ownership of everything in his life, because that's one of the many rules in Jimmy's pyramid scheme, which is that Big Jimmy now owns your entire life. If you've heard of your Rothschilds family, the Hopkins family makes the Rothschilds family look like amateurs. I then get a skateboard which should make travelling a lot easier for Big Jimmy. The cheerleader steals the nerdy girl's notes on the fall of Constantinople and Big Jimmy gets called a pervert by the cheerleader.
And you should stay out of the girls' dorm, you little perv. Ugh, I see you undressing me with your eyes, sicko.
You wish.
The nerdy girl Beatrice then asks Jimmy to get her notes on the fall of Constantinople back. She tells Jimmy she will join his pyramid scheme, so Jimmy gets to work right away on getting those notes back for her. Jimmy needs to take a little break from running his successful pyramid scheme, so he relaxes by playing dodgeball. Big Jimmy needs to make sure people know why they call him Big Jimmy, so Big Jimmy picks a fight with the jocks. Later in the night, Beatrice asks Jimmy to get her diary back because one of the teachers took her diary away from her. I sneak into the school like a sneaky stepdad, and I definitely don't read anything in Beatrice's diary when I retrieve it. I give Beatrice her diary back and then I go to sleep after a long hard day of running my pyramid scheme. Ernest gets a massive wedgie from roided up Eminem, and then I agree to help Ernest as long as he pays me and joins my pyramid scheme. I help Ernest at his speech and I'm quite concerned as to whether or not his banners are inspired by World War II Germany. Speaking of World War II Germany, Gary is laying on my bed dressed as a Nazi SS officer. This won't look good for his Viagra pyramid scheme. I ask Gary if he's mentally okay because dressing up as a Nazi isn't gonna help his pyramid scheme at all. He tells me that it's okay because he sold his entire pyramid scheme to some terrorist group in the Middle East. The pickup artist turned drug trafficker Pete is dressed up as a pink bunny because he knows that women love bunnies and the colour pink. I do a few epic pranks for Halloween. But unfortunately, none of those epic pranks include war crimes or domestic terrorism. Gary then picks up dog shit for the biggest prank of the night, where we set dog shit on fire and cause a teacher to step on it. I then take it upon myself to do the best prank of the night, which is domestic terrorism. Then this nerd asks me to help find all of his board game playing cards, and I do it for $10 and force him into joining my pyramid scheme. Big Jimmy then gets kicked in the nuts, but he stands there unfazed. I get all the playing cards back to the nerd, and Big Jimmy manages to successfully get another person involved in his pyramid scheme. Back at the dorm, Gary tells me about how he just finished watching Fight Club, and then he asks me to follow him into the basement, and this is taking it a step too far now, because he sets up his own fight club in the school basement. Gary is jealous about my pyramid scheme being very successful after a few days, so he forces me to fight the big dumb fella. Big Jimmy defeats the big dumb fella with his unmatched perspicacity coupled with sheer indefatigability. Gary runs away scared because Big Jimmy's unmatched perspicacity coupled with sheer indefatigability makes him a feared opponent in any realm of human endeavour. Sometime later, the headmaster asks me about why I keep committing acts of domestic terrorism, and also asks if he can join my pyramid scheme. Then this rich kid invites me down to a boxing gym, but that's the end of the video. Thanks for watching, you domestic terrorists.